Alright, welcome to the video, everybody. This is going to be my first ever Q&A. About a week ago, I posted on my Instagram story. I asked you guys to ask me questions, and I would answer them in a later YouTube video. Well, this is that later YouTube video, and I'll be answering all the tough questions that the arm wrestling community has been waiting for. So without further ado, we will get right into it with question number 1. From DW_RDNCK, do you remember me from the EC football games? Of course I do. I remember all you guys that came up to me and arm wrestled me at the EC games. I should be there this upcoming football season. If I am, I hope to see you guys there. Make sure you come back up to me and we'll do some arm wrestling. Question number 2 from TomRHad_. When are we going to train together? So I train every Sunday at 3 p.m. For more information about our practices, you need to go on Facebook, add Cleveland, Ohio Arm Wrestling. I post all the dates, times, locations. Everybody is more than welcome to come train, and I look forward to it. Question number 3 from Golden_Eagle627. What's your favorite training method? For me personally, table time is my favorite training method, and at practice, I am on the table 95% of the time. If we start at 3 and end at 6, I am on that table almost the entire practice. Now, I am training at about 70 to 85% pressure, and I'm usually holding with back pressure and pronation. Now, if somebody is strong enough to turn me over, I will force that match into a hook. Another key thing, I never try to pin my opponent at practice. Like they always say, the stronger guy holds, the weaker guy works. That way we're both getting work. If I'm just going up to the table and I'm beating everybody every time, that's not helping anybody. So I'm constantly always trying to stay center table or even slightly in a defensive position, and I'm always working. But that's my favorite type of training, and I try to do it 1 to even upwards to 3 times a week. Question number 4 from David Lee Jiu-Jitsu. Would you accept a super match with Alan Fisher this year? Abso-freaking-lutely. Alan Fisher is a legend in our sport and something like a 26-time world champion. If I had the privilege to arm wrestle Alan Fisher, I would do it in a heartbeat. So Alan, if you're watching this video for whatever reason, let's set something up, let's get together, because it would be my privilege to arm wrestle you. Question number 5 from Austin Camp. Talk about what injuries you have and how to prevent them and how to recover. Luckily, I've had no major injuries from arm wrestling, besides what every arm wrestler gets, the inner elbow pain and the brachialis pain. Now, it's how you deal with those is a different story, because some people, they just can't handle the pain, and unfortunately, a lot of beginners quit the sport because of that. For me personally, I think just arm wrestling in good positions is the key. If you're constantly at practice and you're just getting ripped open, that's gonna cause the brachialis pain. If you're at practice and you're just constantly working in a hook, you're probably gonna get the inner elbow pain. So just practice good technique, make sure you're not redlining, make sure you're not going 100%, because that's when injuries are gonna happen. As far as recovery, I will get into that with a later question. So question number 6 from Bryson_Heiska. You just beat Roman, which is extremely impressive. What is your next goal in the sport? First off, Brian, I appreciate that. And my next goal in the sport would be hopefully to get invited to a major organization, such as East vs. West, King of the Table, Arm Wars, etc. I've primarily have competed in the United States, I have went overseas one time. However, nothing has really been on the big stage. So I would like to showcase my skills where everybody can see it. People outside the arm wrestling community and just the general fans of the sport. I would love to be able to showcase and be on one of these major cards. So we'll see what the future brings. Question number 7 from Adele_collab. Who is an arm wrestler you're looking forward to facing in the future? So earlier we already covered Alan Fisher. If we're sticking with legends, I would love to arm wrestle Crazy George. The dude has one of the best King's moves in all of arm wrestling. Love it or hate it. But I would love to see if I could get through that King's move, and it would definitely be a chess match, unless he just completely overwhelms me. But I think it would be a chess match to see if I could get that arm down to the pin pad. A couple other people, I would love to pull David Stepanian from California. I would love to have another rematch with Dylan Burns. And Matthias Schiltzky, the Hellboy from Germany. He beat me at IFA Worlds, and I would love to have a super match with him to see if I could make some adjustments and to see if the match could turn out any differently. So those are some of the guys I'd like to arm wrestle in the future, and hopefully some of them happen. Question number 8 from White Owl Wilms. How does rock climbing help with arm wrestling? So in my opinion, the number one thing that rock climbing helps with arm wrestling is recovery. So like we talked about earlier, recovery is key. And when we're arm wrestling, we're constantly in this position where we're trying to stay close to our body, we're trying to stay tight, and we're always tensed up. When we're like that, our tendons get shorter, our body starts to develop like in that position, you start to get elbow pain. So rock climbing, we're constantly stretching, we're constantly pulling, we're constantly getting blood flow to all these areas. So that's the number one thing that rock climbing is good at. Another thing would be the endurance aspect. I think my crazy endurance probably comes from the hours and hours I put in at the rock gym. I climb usually 2 to 3 times per week, and sessions can be upward to 5 or 6 hours. So endurance is definitely a key. And last but not least, the finger, the hand, and the forearm strength. Rock climbing and arm wrestling are so similar in the muscles that have to be strong. It is the perfect crossover sport for arm wrestling. Question number 9 from Fisher_Reed21. Best way to train pronation in the gym? I have 2 handles that I like to use in the gym for pronation. The first one is the hook finisher. The second one is your standard arm wrestling strap. I hook these up to a pulley and I just do them in your pronation, your standard pronation movements. I like to train pronation from a neutral to a positive position. I'm never training from palm up to neutral. A lot of guys do that, but I think the pronator is best engaged from neutral to winning position. So it's just something that you're gonna have to work on in the gym. It just comes from hours and hours of trying different things and seeing what works best for you. Question number 10 from Droopy98. How do you balance high-level climbing and arm wrestling without overtraining? So, to answer the question simply, you don't. This has taken me years to develop. I started climbing in 2012, and I started arm wrestling really competitively in about 2015. So when I first started arm wrestling, my rock climbing went down drastically. I remember I went to the gym once. I used to climb at Cleveland Rock Gym, which was about an hour and 15 minutes from my house. I probably arm wrestled a day or two prior, and I thought I felt good. When I got to the gym and started climbing, I had severe brachialis pain, and it was basically a waste of a trip. I had to quit and go home because I was in so much pain. So, of course, over the years, as I continued arm wrestling, I've continued rock climbing, my body has just adapted and adapted and adapted. But it's gonna take years to develop that. So I hope that answers the question. Number 11, from Owen Chester. What other sports did you focus on before arm wrestling? So in high school, my main sport was wrestling. I did pretty good. My senior year, I made it to the state tournament. However, I didn't do too good at the state tournament. I got tech-falled and I got pinned, but I was still happy that I made it to state. It's one of my greatest career accomplishments in sports. Along with wrestling, I also did jiu-jitsu and MMA. I've been doing that since I was 14, 15 years old, and I do have a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I just haven't been doing it much lately because arm wrestling is basically taken over my entire life. And then I also do rock climbing, and out of all three of these sports, arm wrestling is definitely the best one I've ever done. Question number 12, from Gregory Yo. Will you be pulling at IFA Worlds again this year? Unfortunately, I don't have the plans to pull at IFA Worlds this year. With it being in Malaysia, that's just too long of a flight for me. Flights to Malaysia from the United States are about 32.5 hours long, and being an athlete and wanting to compete at your peak performance, a 32-hour flight just does not intrigue me. Last year when I went to Paris, France, it was about an 8-hour flight, and it did take some adjusting to get, used to the time zone and the jet lag. So, and that was only 8 hours. Now going 32.5 hours, I just don't feel like I'll be at my peak performance, and I think I'm just gonna wait until next year and see where the location is for Worlds. Last but not least, question number 13 from Fine.AS. Do you have any health issues related to arm wrestling or training in general? As far as health issues, I would say no. I actually think arm wrestling has made me healthier, especially with being in the 154-pound weight class. I have to consistently make sure my diet's on key. I have to make sure I'm doing my cardio, and I have to make sure I'm in the gym. So those three things alone are gonna keep me healthy. Other than that, just living a healthy, active lifestyle, and also the mental health. If I didn't have arm wrestling, I'm sure my mental health wouldn't be nearly as good, because everything I do, all the goals I set, all the time in the gym, it's all going towards arm wrestling. Like I said earlier, this sport has taken over my life, and I'm so glad it did. It's a sport that you can get into in your 20s, 30s, 40s, all the way up until your 70s, and you can still progress and get good at this sport. So, to answer the question, arm wrestling has not affected my health in any way, and if it has, it's definitely been a positive influence. So that's it for the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I do plan on doing another Q&A in the future, so if you have any questions for me, make sure you either put them down in the comments or go over to my Instagram or Facebook page and send me messages there, and I will get back to them the next time we do a Q&A. So like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.